Hi, welcome to Beef Cattle Institute's Ask the Experts. I'm Brad White, joined by two good experts with lots of opinions today, Dr. Brian Lubers.
Morning, Brad.
And Dr. Bob Larson.
Hello, guys.
So we're happy to have them here because they get to answer your questions. And if you send us questions at BCI@KSU, when they answer them, they will get up to 10 points for their answers. Today's listener question is on generic versus brand name pharmaceutical products, and which do you prefer and why? Brian, I'm going to you first.
So I guess I don't have a strong preference, but I do tend to, if there is a generic available, I'm very comfortable with producers using generic products. They're generally cheaper, and they are because the sponsor, the manufacturer of that generic product, hasn't had to go through all of the studies to get that product approved. Basically, they can say if it's the same product with the same other ingredients in that bottle, then it is likely to be as efficacious as the brand product. But it has to be chemically exactly the same in order to do that. But I'm very comfortable with that, and the cost savings are huge for producers. So I think generic products are more than acceptable.
Excellent. Bob?
Well, that's all true, and a reason why many times you may want to select a generic product. But there are times when a brand name product is going to be really the choice, and oftentimes because if there is a new product, so the purpose of generics, there's a period of time when a new product comes on the market that no one else is allowed to copy that. And during that time period, if you have a unique chemical, a unique pharmaceutical, and really nothing else fits that niche, there might be other generics that are similar but not really quite the same. There may be an advantage of using a newer brand name product where there's really not a generic absolute equivalent out there. So I think it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to need to talk to a veterinarian or get some expert advice about really what are my options for some of the pharmaceutical products. But there's times when a brand name product is probably going to be the choice that you'll need to make.
Okay, so good start to the question. And Brian leaned toward generics. You leaned toward brand name. Brian's got 5 points. You've got 4 at the start. So, Brian, I'm going to ask a follow-up question. As you think about using those generics, there are multiple out there. And so even within that generic space, multiple products, multiple brands of products in some spaces. How do I sort through all that information to make a decision for what's best for my operation?
Well, and Bob said this too, and I think this is always the right answer, is you need to work with your veterinarian, right? And because there's some confusion out there about generic products, and you can get into the space where you get into compounded products. People will call those generics, and they really aren't. So, and you're right, it can be an overwhelming amount of information. But if it's a true generic of a single pioneer, if you have multiple, they should all be the same product, or at least have shown they have the same efficacy for whatever that label indication is. So, oftentimes we sort by price, or there's some other reason, but really I think you need to have a veterinarian that's familiar with operation that can help you make, we're going to choose A over B because of this reason, or B over C because of this reason, when there's multiple options out there. But if they're true generics, they should have all demonstrated either they're chemically equivalent or they have the same efficacy as the brand product.
Okay. Bob, Brian used 3 words that I'm going to have you define: pioneer, generic, and compounding.
All right. So pioneer is that original formulation that was a brand name product. All right. And then once the period where they have exclusive rights to that chemical are passed, then other companies can make an equivalent product. So that would be a generic product. So it's a generic equivalent of the pioneer product.
You got the first 2 right.
All right. And then a compounded product is one where basically you're taking a base chemical, not the same ingredients that the rest of the bottle contains, and you're using that same chemical, but I don't know that the other carriers, the strength of the chemical, it is taking the chemical name that's on the label of either my generic or my pioneer and making a product, but that doesn't mean the rest of the bottle is the same.
So you have to be sure, as you guys mentioned, you're dealing with a generic or brand name. There are times to use both. Brian ended up with 9. Bob ended up with 7. Thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, you can send them to us at bci@ksu.edu.